I wake up every morning in a different place and time. I thank God that I can live the way I choose. Though at times the road gets lonely, I can't settle down. I gotta win, 'cause I can't stand to lose.
Spent a lot of time on my dad's ranch. It was 50 or 60 miles from our home place. He would take me up and leave me at the ranch, and in a few days he'd come back. I spent a Christmas there one time with the hired hand and his wife and their boy. We cut a mesquite branch and stuck it in a coffee can full of sand for the Christmas tree. And his wife, she made some little things and we decorated it with that. Yeah.
Boy, you think I'd learn my lesson?
I had to do things on my own. So I had to entertain myself. Chase wild horses, wild jackasses. I caught a young little jackass and I finally roped him, but he was so tired I had to carry him home in my saddle. So when I got home, he mothered up to me and my horse. So from then on, he wanted to be with me all the time. People just passing through would stop for gas or something. They would say, well, what kind of dog is that? Because he was sitting in the passenger seat. Because when we started the Jeep, he would sit backwards and his ears would just stick up. You know, I tell him, that's no dog, that's my donkey.
'Cause I was born to be a cowboy, full of dreams and broken bones. It ain't an easy life, but it's the one I chose. And I was born to be a champion, and I can feel it in my soul.
Guy came from San Diego to go to school. And I got to know him pretty well, and he was telling me about, he worked on the fishing boats in the summertime. So I decided, well, that'd be something really good to do. I rode the bus to San Diego, got off the bus, and about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and I had my stuff in a bag, and so I stopped at a coffee shop and I asked the guys, where are the fishing boats? And they said, well, you know, right down at the foot of Broadway. So I walked down there, and then I started walking around the harbor, and every boat that had somebody on it, I would stop and ask him for a job. Walk clear around the bay, and eventually there was a guy on the boat, and I asked him, I'm looking for a job. He said, we're leaving in about 2 or 3 hours, get on.
I was very attracted to Bill because he was the most interesting guy I've ever met. He has a great singing voice, he's artistic, he's ambitious. At one point we went shopping for a fishing pole, and we saw a wonderful sunset painting by Jagursky. We ended up with the painting, and Bill said, I can paint that. And so he did, and worked until he got his ocean scenes down perfectly, and would load up all of his paintings in the car and drive up to Palos Verde and sit on the cliffs and paint, and people would stop and talk to him, and he would end up selling the whole load of paintings before he would come home.
I can see the lights are counting down below me.
I created an image in my mind that I would like to see stir me emotionally. Try to create the emotion that I have in me. I try to put that in the painting. That's what it's all about. Everything I do then, once I see it in my mind, everything I do is towards creating that feeling or the emotion that I've got. And the color that I choose goes towards creating the emotion or the feeling that I want to portray in that painting. That's what I do.
I remember one time my sister and I got into his studio when he was painting in his garage when we were little kids, and we were maybe 3 and 4. And we took paintbrushes and we started smearing paint on one of his paintings because we wanted to paint, we wanted to be like him. He went to show one of his friends what he'd been working on, and what was amazing to me was rather than being mad or upset that we'd ruined his painting, he was excited that we were painting and that we were being creative. And we grew up in that atmosphere where being creative was important, it was profound. Be responsible and be creative, be an artist.
I have so many memories of my dad. Let's see, my favorite being with him at the beach, painting and playing on the rocks with him, and making abalone dinner. At the end of the day, we didn't have any paintings left, but we put our buckets and put them back in our old car, our old Ford Falcon convertible, and drove home. We went home and made spaghetti dinner. I was very proud of him, and I knew he was like a superstar, but my dad is my dad. And that was the best part ever, him being my dad.
My dad always had time for me. He spent a lot of time with me when I was a kid. He coached baseball with me. He took me fishing. We golfed together a lot. He always had time because being an artist, he had his own schedule. He instilled to be honest. I think that was one of the most important things to me. I really believe that's a true statement. I'd watch him layer his paintings, and it would start with one layer, and he'd put another layer, and another layer, and all of a sudden it would just come to life. And I just couldn't understand how he could do that. It's really impressive.
I started going to Japan at about the mid-90s. Treated me like a big star. The people were so receptive of my work. I was a hell of a lot younger, and I was having a good old time. They were very taken by my work. They liked what I did, and they wanted those things in their homes. These images in their homes. They have small apartments, small houses, and a lot of the apartments they have, there's no view of anything. And so they use the paintings for a view. I mean, that's what they want to see. They want to see that in their home. I can't describe how touched they were by it, which pleased me to no end, because that's what it was all about.
One time when me and Will were in 6th and 7th grade, we went and stayed with Grandpa Willie for a week at his house in Bonita. And that week we did a lot of stuff. He took us to the movies, he took us to the water park, we went down to TJ with him so he could get his teeth worked on. While he was doing that, he just gave us some money and turned us loose in a little market and said he'd see us in an hour.
We met up with him in an hour with a bunch of chiclets.
He also refused to cook for us that week. He said if we wanted to eat, we had to do it ourselves, and we had to wash our own dishes. So I made a cake, and we ate cake for like 3 days.
I think what I see in my grandfather is a lot of strength and courage. I imagine him when he was like younger as this like little like cowboy that's like really tan, little like Native American cowboy running around with like probably whiskey when he was like 5, smoking cigarettes, and like I just think that that's really cool. Having someone like that in your family that has like achieved such like work of beauty is something, it's inspiring. It's like you look up to that and you see that and you're like, wow, like I can make my own like work of art, but maybe it's not painting, maybe it's like teaching yoga or acting or modeling or whatever your interests are.
He listens to your problems and, makes you feel like, he cares and he's interested, and he always has a different way of looking at things.
I like that when I get in trouble at school, Grandpa always made me feel better about it, make me laugh, make me feel like I did something wrong, but I shouldn't feel bad about it.
The painting that he painted, and I think it's the one of a kind, it was called Fields of Maui. It hung over the couch for quite some time, and it was my favorite painting, and they needed a painting to fill up the room at the gallery, so they took it there and it sold immediately. Just fields of different colored flowers. It was so beautiful. It really was one of the most beautiful paintings I've ever seen.
The tradition of Bill was to wait for the last minute to bring your Christmas presents out because he had to go down to the drugstore to get the presents. And so I got my traditional pack of cigarettes, but not wrapped, because he said he did special wrapping on that, which was no wrapping. And so he said to me, he says, as we were getting ready to leave, he said to me, he says, not all of us have been born into wealth. And he says, but I want to give you something. And he took a $100 bill and he put it in my pocket, and he told me, "Welcome to the family."
It was just the way things evolved, you know. I mean, that's what you did. You took care of your family and tried to develop your art on the side. Originally I was working for the railroad, and I worked nights. I had a studio in my garage, and I would go in there and practice my painting during the day and then find time for the family and everything, you know. I have a very vivid memory of the day that I knew that I could be. I'd been showing in any place I could show my work, I was showing. Come home and paint, and then on the weekends I'd go back. So I did a couple things that I thought, boy, these are really kind of catchy, you know? And I knew that what I had just done was what I needed to be an artist, to be a professional artist. I went back to Palm Springs that weekend, and they sold right away, immediately. And so that was the beginning.
Well, I met William DeShazo in Hawaii. First I met his art, and he was featured at Center Art Galleries. Bill's art is authentic first and foremost, but he captures the spirit, soul, everything about the sea and nature, his rivers, his beautiful cabins. Just everything that Bill paints has a very distinctive quality to it. It's very emotional. What makes William DeShazo unique from any other painter is he's the best of both, you know, centuries and worlds, in that he's a classical painter, a lot of glazing, a lot of luminous light, just a few brush strokes. He really captures the soul of the sea like nobody else.
I've been painting 65 to 70 years, something like that. Have I ever painted the perfect painting? No, I won't. I'm too critical. I've done some things that I thought, well, that's as good as I can do today. In other words, that's the best I can do. But it's never good enough, because I want it to be better. I always want them to be better, and they're not always better. They're maybe different, but they're not necessarily better. When I decide that's all I can do, that's the best I can do today, I sign the damn thing. That means that's it. I can't do it anymore. I'm finished for today. I'll always paint. I'll never stop painting, I don't think. Maybe everybody in this whole world that wanted DeShazo's got one. You know, I've done enough paintings, you know, maybe it's over. Somewhere, some guy said, you know, he's the last one that wanted DeShazo. He's saying, oh man, I finally got my DeShazo, you know? And that would end my career.
I was born to be a cowboy, full of dreams and broken bones. It ain't an easy life, but it's the one I chose.
For an old cowboy, by God, that's pretty good.